You know, there's two ways to measure success. I can sit down with a brand new client, I can tell very quickly what they are focused on by studying their time and their money. So a client comes in to me and tells me their objectives, and I'm interested to hear what their goals are, of course, and I'm trying to figure out if they have what it takes to get to their goals. And so I sit down and I say, well, first things first, let's go through your bank and credit card statements and let's look at your calendar. And I am really looking to see how are they investing their time, what are they doing, and how are they investing their money. Because by looking at those two factors, you can tell where people's heart is, where their head is, and what they're actually doing. And you can tell where their priorities are. Well, the same goes for financial advisors. First thing I do with a financial advisor is I'll say, tell me, how are you investing your time? How are you investing your money? If they tell me that they're investing their money in a coach, then I think, okay, they're serious. They're focused on mindset issues, because coaches push you harder than you are willing to go. And that's the money part, but as far as the time, I would always ask, in the last 7 days, how many non-clients have you sat down with? So I'll ask you that right now. In the last 7 days, how many non-clients have you sat down with? I remember being in a conference years ago with a legend in our industry, a guy named Norm Levine. He's no longer with us, but he asked the audience the same question I just asked you. How many people have you talked to in the last 24 hours? And he said, if you've talked to more than 10, raise your hand. No hands went up. And he said, if you've talked to, and he kept counting down until he got to 1 or 2, and then a bunch of hands went up. And he said, when I said, how many people have you talked to, what were you thinking? And of course, there was a little feedback with the group, and the audience ended up saying, people that are potential clients, that I've met with for the purpose of seeing whether we're going to do business together or not. Well, that is one way to look at people, but he meant it a lot more simple. He told the group, he goes, you forget what it's like to just be a nice person. Like, how many people have you met with if I open it up a little bit and I say, did you drop your laundry off at the cleaners today? Did you go to a restaurant? Did you talk to a waiter or a waitress? When you sat down at the table, did the hostess engage with you? Did you say hello to your neighbor when you drove off in the car this morning? Like, literally, how many people have you interacted with throughout the day? And it's funny that in our industry, we think of people in terms of qualified people who can do business with us, and if they are not pre-qualified, then I don't count them as people that I've interacted with. So what do we actually mean when we say, how many people have you talked to in the last 7 days? Well, I'm going to give you a framework to count that metric, because that right there, in my opinion, is the most critical metric for you to track. Now, when I say how many people did you interact with, what I mean, and the way I count this for myself, is I'm saying how many people did you meet that you invested at least 10 minutes chatting with them, a conversation with another human being. It goes something like this. Hey, what have you been up to lately? Oh, that's great. Oh, what have I been up with lately? And I'm saying, there is an interaction where you're both catching each other up on some aspect of your life, and it was at least 10 minutes long. So if I were to say, how many of those interactions have you had in the last 7 days? How many have you had? 10? 15? Well, the number should be 20. When I'm sitting down with a financial advisor and I'm saying, how many people did you talk to in the last 7 days? I'm looking for a number that's north of 10 and closer to 20 than 10. And if it's less than that, then I'm thinking, hey, nice financial advisor. I like them as a person really well, but they're not really focused on the thing that matters most. They're not out there rubbing elbows with non-clients at a momentum that's enough to make a business out of this. So I'm going to get this whole thing boiled down to where you've got just one problem. And as I've mentioned in several other videos, especially these mindset series, I view what we do as just solve problems. We're entrepreneurs. What do entrepreneurs do? They're moving towards an objective, and then we just encounter problem after problem after problem, and what do? We solve problems in real time. We're moving towards the goal, we stop, and we're encountering a problem. We fix it in real time, we move on to the next problem, we fix it, we move on to the next one. The problem was you weren't meeting with enough people. Well, now that I've refined the definition for you, let's say next 7 days, you will meet with at least 20 people for at least 10 minutes where you both interact with each other and catch up a little bit with each other. Now, you could go grab a beer with a friend after work. Mark, does that count? Yes, it counts. This is called interacting with another human being. So forget sales tactics. I mean, this is the kind of metric that's just like, how many friends have you caught up with in the last 7 days? That's really all I'm saying. And you're thinking, well, when you count it that way, I do more of that, but Mark, how does that ever become business? Like, how do I turn these interactions where I'm just developing a deeper relationship with a friend, how does that ever turn into business? Well, now you've got it down to a problem you can solve. So let me back it up. First things first. So now you know that the goal is 20. And not only 20 people, let's say you work full time. I always assume that you're working as a full-time professional financial advisor. And that means you're working at least 40 hours a week. I'm saying half your time, 20 hours a week minimum, should be face-to-face or on the phone with non-clients. So that's how you count your metric. So not only how many of them did you interact with in the last 7 days, but how much of your time are you devoting to this critical project that we call client acquisition? I'm saying that if you're not investing at least half your hours in the week, well, you're on some track other than success. And maybe you'll be fine in this business, but I'm just saying, I've known a lot of successful financial advisors, and they're spending half their time on client acquisition, and the other half of their time is serving their clients and building and leading their team. So 20 hours on client service and building your team, and 20 hours on client acquisition. There's just no way around it. Our main goal is to spend time acquiring clients. Now, can you delegate it? Yes. We will leave that for another video, but it's a who, not how situation. We know the how you build a business is to interact with non-clients, in other words, potential clients. The question is, who's going to do that? So for this video, let's assume it's you. So you're going to focus on 20. We've defined what an interaction is, 10 minutes at least. It could be up to half an hour, but that's how you define it. We've talked about the metric. It should be 20 people and at least half of your week, a minimum of 20 hours focused on that. So let's spend the rest of our time in this video just talking about the final problem. Once you've got the momentum going and you've got all this dialed in, you're meeting with 20 people every single week, just think how many that is over a month. You're down to just the single, simple, final question. How does this relationship ever turn into business? Well, I can only cover so much in a video like this. We have training for this. So there's entire training on how you turn this relationship into a business. And it's not every relationship that becomes a business relationship. It's only those ones where they fit the profile of the client that you serve best. And the breakthrough for me was realizing that if I am extraordinary at what I do, and I do it well, and I deliver an extraordinary client experience, the breakthrough for me was realizing that there are millions of people out there in the market that are seeking someone who's in a category of one who can really deliver on, in my case, truly comprehensive financial services. But whatever area of financial services that you deliver, are you extraordinary at what you do, and do you deliver an extraordinary client experience? Assuming that's the case, you do realize there's millions of people out there, way more than you could ever serve. Like, there are more people looking for you than you could possibly ever serve. So it's really just a matter of finding fit. So the question is, do you have the skill as you're developing relationships with people to hear when you're in conversation with someone, when they are describing, they're just catching up with you, telling you what's going on in their life, and you pick up on what they're describing here in this conversation with this person on this day is a significant financial issue. That they are actually describing something to you that you could fix. But you're not sure if that's why they're bringing it up. So that's what the whole skill ends up being. You've got it down to a final problem. The problem is I'm meeting with plenty of people, but Mark, how does that ever become business? It's learning the skill of identifying when, as you're developing relationships with people, they are actually describing a significant financial issue, which you can just slow the conversation down and check and make sure that that's what you're hearing. So wait. So, and then you repeat the story they just told you, and you say to them, well, that sounds like a significant financial issue to me. Is that right? And they go, yeah, exactly. Oh, absolutely significant. So it could be some issue around their kids or their relatives or their business or whatever they're talking about, but you're making the link to that's a financial issue. And you stop and ask, and they say, yes, that's a financial issue. And you have the skill to, in essence, say, I've got a process for that. I can help you resolve that if that's something that you'd like me to do. And if they say, no, I was just bringing it up, just trying to catch you up on what's going on with me, and say, oh, okay, my apologies. I was just trying, it's what I do for a living, my apologies. So continue, finish your story. And you see how this goes. Well, I'm telling you that if you can get the momentum up and you can gain the skill that I'm describing, and you can get the skill that I'm talking about in 12 weeks. In our program, we guarantee that everybody in our program will be able to do what I just described skillfully in less than 12 weeks. And so it's just a matter of, are you actually doing the work? Are you taking action that's required for you to grow your business, acquire clients, and generate new revenue? It's a mindset issue. The only goal you have is, over the next 7 days, I need to meet with a minimum of 20 non-clients. I should be spending at least 20 hours over the next 7 days scheduling meetings with non-clients, just calling friends up saying, hey, it's been a while since we caught up. I'd love to go grab coffee with you and just kind of catch up on life. And they say, fine, and that's what you do. And you go into these with zero ulterior motive. And as long as you're meeting with plenty of people, add on top of that the people in your life that actually are approaching you for money, clients, referrals. What I'm describing will take you from wherever you are now to exceeding your goals. So I'll leave you with this final parting shot. If you're wanting to just get ready by learning how this system works and how we recommend doing this, not only what I'm talking about, but that's the client acquisition piece. But if you're wondering, well, then how do you serve a client after that? And how do you convert a non-client into an actual client? Well, we've got training in all of that. But that's getting ready to get ready. If you're focused on the information, fine. I've created a lot of videos, plenty for you to implement based on what I'm providing. But if you're ready to take action, then what I recommend is you either join our program, and I put a link below to do that, and it gives you all the information if that's what you want to do, is understand everything before you move forward to do anything. I understand, because I was that way myself. But if you're ready to take action, like transform your life and really just make your entire objective about achieving your goal, well, that's a mindset issue. And we've got a program that just deals with mindset. We only allow people into it if they've made up the mind that I'm going to just do whatever it takes to achieve my goals. Forget everything else. That's a mindset issue. And there's a link below. If you'd like to schedule a breakthrough strategy session with somebody in my team, be happy to schedule that for you as well. But either way, the concept is the same. You need to not only take action on the very next thing that's going to get you to your goal, and in this case it's, I need to meet with a massive number of non-clients on a regular basis every 7 days. But you make that your entire objective. And so that's it. With that concept, you can go forth and conquer. You can achieve your goals just with that with that information right there. Until next time, I'm Mark Little.